Friends, today we will see a new topic on graphical and diagrammatical representation of data. So, this topic I will be covering in two parts. So, because this is a very lengthy topic, so I will cover it in two parts. So, first we'll see कि how why graphical and diagrammatical representation of data is needed. So, when we are having a very huge data set, what we want to do, we want to reduce it and condense it so that it become easily comprehensible. So, for that, we have already seen in last classes the classification and tabulation. So, by the classification and tabulation, you can reduce and condense the data, but it will be very difficult to grasp the whole data at a glance. So, by the way of classification and tabulation, you cannot grasp the data, whole data at a glance. So, what we'll do for that? For that, we need to visualize the data. There should be certain mechanism by which, by just visualizing the data, we can get some idea about the data. So, for that, we need to prepare graphs and charts. And this graph and charts will be understandable by both literate and illiterate people. That means everyone can understand or get some idea about the data when he or she will go through the graphical and diagrammatical presentation of the data. So, it is rightly said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So, by the way of picture, graphs, diagrams, you can say a lot many things that you cannot say by writing. The next very common question that has been that is being asked in the examination is about the graphs versus charts. So, what is the difference between graphs and charts? So, people use both graphs and charts interchangeably, but there is some difference between the graph and charts. So, just we will see one by one what are the differences between graphs and charts. So, these differences has been classified on the various bases. So, first basis we will see the meaning. So, meaning graph shows the mathematical relationship between data by plotting on x and y axis. So, in graph you will get x and y axis, and there should be the mathematical relationship between these two traits, or these two on the what we are plotting in these two axes. There should be some mathematical relationship. Whereas in chart, it presents large set of information in form of diagram, table or graph. So, chart is a comprehensive thing. Graph is a small thing, graph that will establish a mathematical relationship between x and y axis, whereas chart, it may include diagram, table or graph in any form. In any form, it will present a large data set. The second point is subset. All subset, the graphs are all graphs and charts. All graphs are charts, whereas in chart, all charts are not graph, because this chart will contain all the graphs. So, all the graphs are chart. Whenever you are presenting data in a form of graph, that also comes under chart, whereas all charts are not graph because it may include table, diagram or any other things. So, this is the basic difference between graphs and charts. The next is data analyzed. So, graphs are used for raw data and provide a visual representation of trends. So, graphs are very important for knowing the trends, whereas charts used for data which can be easily characterized into a small subset of figures. So, you cannot get idea until and unless you draw a graph of your data set. Whereas by the help of chart, you can easily categorize the small subset of very small subset of figures. Then what are the uses? So graphs are mostly used in analysis, shows accurate and numerical figure plotted on its axis. So graphs are basically a more mathematical type. So it will emphasize on the relationship. Whereas in chart, mostly used in business presentation, example pie charts, etc. So charts are basically a visual treats. Whenever you are presenting a cumbersome data or a very complex data in form of a single diagram, single graphs, so that is known as chart. Whereas if you are talking about chart, it is basically a mathematical relationship between the x and y axis. So it's a more numerical type of presentation of the data. Then another one is trend analysis. So graphs are ideal for data which depict trend. So I have already mentioned in the last point. So or relationship between the variables. Whereas in case of chart, it can also be used where data is not depicting any trend or relationship. So chart, since chart is including graphs also, so charts will also display trend. But without displaying trend also, you can present chart. Whereas in graph, you have to have establish a relationship between x and y axis, or you have to show the trend. What are the common types of graphs and charts? So common type of graphs are line graphs and bar graphs, whereas common type of charts are pie chart, histogram, vertical and bar charts, etc. So these are the common type of graphs and charts. Now, what are the advantages of diagrammatic representation of data? So the first one is the immediate visual impact. So this chart and diagrams or graphs are having great visual impact. What you cannot appreciate in words, you can simply appreciate it by seeing at the diagram or graph. Create a long lasting impression. So when once you see a graph or diagram, this will give you a deeper impact. Then make a large and unmanageable data understandable. So this is the very basic feature of graph and diagram. So very large data set you can easily understand. It can determine some of the measures of location. So in coming next classes, we will see what are the various measures of location. So these measures of location, example median and mode, that we will study in coming classes, it can be determined with the help of graph or diagram. Then also it allows us to make quick comparison. So graph and chart are very good for making comparison between the two data set. That if you are not seeing diagram or graph, you cannot make comparison between the two large data sets. So with the help of diagram or graph, it will be very easy. What are the disadvantages? So disadvantages are it serves only as a supplement of table, not an alternative to it, because many of the information when you are preparing graph or chart or diagram, many of the small information that you may be interested that cannot be appreciated by simply observing a graph or diagram. So it can act as supplement by along with table. If you are seeing graph, that will have a greater impact. Then difficult to choose the correct format. So this is also very important point. So whenever you are preparing graph, chart or diagram, correct format is necessary. Otherwise there will be graph, but you cannot get important information out of that graph. The next is fail to exhibit small differences, so not good for accuracy. Since you are condensing very large data set into a small piece of paper with the help of graph or diagram, so the small differences it is very difficult to appreciate with the help of this kind of diagram. So for that you need to have some other method of presentation of data. Then charts and graph are costly because this graph and chart you have to present on the piece of paper. For that printing cost, preparation cost, color cost, etc. So that is why charts and graphs are costly. Then what are the general rules for construction of diagram? So there are few basic rules that we need to remember. First is the serial number. So when you are having more than one graph or diagram, you want to prepare more than one graph or chart. So you have to write the serial number. Then title. Similar to the table, the title should be brief and self-explanatory. So title should be brief and self-explanatory. Then axis. We have already discussed there should be axis. Dimension in the data are often displayed on the axis. So when you are having two dimension of the data, you have to present it on the x and y axis. So that is why axis is also important. Then size and scale. Size should match the size of the paper and scale should always be mentioned. So whenever you are preparing graph or chart, you have to mention the unit or scale. How many space is equal to how many unit of your measurement? So that is scale. And also you have to accommodate your graph or chart in a piece of paper on which you are drawing it. So it is very important to decide the scale of graph that you want to prepare. Then it should be clear and simple. So because the graph, many a times the person who is preparing graph or chart, he may be interested in loading a lot of information on that particular graph, but it is very cumbersome if you are loading more information in that graph. So graph should always be simple and clear. You need not load more information on that particular graph. Then legend. If data are on multiple variables, it should have a legend. Suppose you are presenting data on milk production of various states. So you have to write the legend below the graph or charts that you are preparing. Legend means we will see in the later slides when we will see the graph, actual graph. Suppose two states, suppose Gujarat and Rajasthan. I am comparing Gujarat and Rajasthan. So which figure or which color pattern you have used for these two states, that you have to write in the legend. Okay, so another one is footnote. It clarifies certain points in the diagram. Suppose certain special thing you want to mention in the graph. So it is very difficult to mention it on the graph. What you have to do, you have to write a footnote, and with certain symbol you have to use footnote which clarifies certain points in the diagram. Similar to certain advertisement, you are seeing a star mark, and star mark below as a footnote, it explains that this offer is valid for 2 months only. So like that, in diagram or chart or graph also we are putting footnote. Then source. Whenever we are taking this figures for graph or charts or diagram from some other source, then it is necessary to mention the source, so that the graph, and now with this information you will have to complete, or you have to prepare the graph or diagram or chart. Now what are the various types of charts, graphs and diagram? So first of all we will see about the line graph. We will see about the graph, and that too the line graph. So line graph used to show how something changes over time. This is very important because whenever you are willing to display the changes over time, it is very good if you show it by line graph. So when prepared for data on time series called as time series plot. Time series means we have already studied about the time series data. So data which has been measured over a period of time. So when prepared for data on time series, it is called as time series plot, time series graph. It uses line segment to connect data point and show changes in data over time. So this line graph always show the changes of data over time period. Normally used to display the relationship between two variables such as x and y. So line graph is having two essential components. First, it will show the relationship between two variables x and y, which will be displayed on two different axes, and another, it will have a time component. So these are the two essential things for line graph. Now, how to prepare a line graph? So first of all, you have to enter the data point in the graph. So what you just see here, this is the x and y axis. Suppose this is the graph that you want to construct. So what you have to see, suppose here on x axis years has been written, years, and on y axis we are writing certain milk production. Suppose it is milk production. So what you have to write, first in 1990 the milk production. So what you have to note, the data point, suppose 2000 liters. So here the 2000 liter. In 2000 year 2000, the milk production is coming 2500. So this data point, this is the data point. Then year 2010, the milk production is 3000 liters. So here we put the data point 3000 liter, and in 2020 the milk production is 3000 liter. So here we put the data point. So these are the data points that we have entered in the graph. Now horizontal line is called as horizontal axis. So this year represents the horizontal axis. Vertical line is called as vertical axis. This milk production is vertical axis. Once the data point have been entered, they are connected by a line. So now I will connect this data point with a line. So this is how a line graph is being prepared. So I think this preparation of line graph is clear to all of you. Next, so this is one example of line graph. So here a line graph of body weight of Gohilwadi. Gohilwadi is a breed of goat. So Gohilwadi kids at different ages. So this is the data we are having. As birth weight is 3.2 kg. At 3-month age, it is weighing about 12.5 kg. At 6 months, it is 18.4 kg. 9 months 23.6 kg, and 12 months 31.4 kg. So what we will do here, on x axis or horizontal axis you can see the age in month, and on y axis or vertical axis we have put body weight in kg. Now first of all we have to enter the data point. So 0, at 0, that means birth weight is 3.2. So I have entered 3.2 kg data point. At third it is 12.5, then 18.4, then 23.6, then 31.4. Now I will connect all these data points and form a line diagram. So this is how a line graph is being prepared. Then coming to the bar chart. So bar chart or bar graph. So we have already studied the difference between chart and graph. So now what are the components of bar chart or bar graph? So a bar chart is a graph of bars. Bar chart is a graph of bars, and in this bar is bar is representing the height, or height of the bar is representing the frequency. Height of the bar is representing the frequency. So this is very important point. A bar chart or graph is a collection of bars, and height of bar is representing the frequency. This bar depicts the relationship between series of categorical data. This is also very important point. So these 2 points you have to remember. Height represents the frequency, and this bar represents the categorical data. So this bar chart or bar graph is prepared only for qualitative data or categorical data. So this is used for comparison between different groups or track changes over time. So the why bar chart or bar graph is used? It is used for qualitative data, and that too for comparison or to track the changes over different period of time. So the bar can be either vertical or horizontal. So we will see in the later classes how this vertical or horizontal graph can be bar chart or bar graph can be prepared. So this is all. This will also have two axes. First is the type of categories being compared. So on first axis you have to write the type of categories which is being compared, and on second axis you have to write the numerical values that represents the data. So similar to line graph, also here two axes will be there. First axis will represent the categories, and second will represent the numerical value. Then so this is how this bar chart look like. So you can see the difference or gap between the two bars. So this is very important. This gap between the two bars will say that the data is qualitative. It is not continuous, but it is discontinuous categorical data. If you are not representing, or if you are not putting any gap, here you can see there is no gap. So this is not a bar diagram or bar chart. This is something else that we will study in the later classes. Then how this bar chart can be prepared. So it is good for plotting data that span many years. So the time component, we have already seen that if you are having data on various years or days or weeks, so you can think for bar chart considering that all other conditions are being met. So it is best suited for qualitative. We have already studied that qualitative or categorical data is needed for preparation of bar chart. So categories you have to put on the horizontal axis. So on x axis you have to write the categories, and on y axis you have to put the numerical value. Y axis or vertical axis you have to put the numerical value or frequencies. The 0 point is located at the x and y intercept. So the point where x and y is cutting each other, that point is called as 0 point. Then the bar can be of any width. So width is not important in case of bar diagram. So in bar chart, you have to remember that width is not important. Why? Why width is not important? Because only we are displaying the numerical value on y-axis. So only height of the graph, height of the bar will be important because it will represent the frequency. This width will have not any importance. Then space between the bar emphasizes the qualitative character. So we have already seen that if the space between the two bar, it will show the qualitative nature or categorical nature or discontinuous nature of our data. Then what are the different types of bar charts? There are so many types of bar chart. So first we will see the data on one independent and one dependent variable. One independent and one dependent variable. Suppose you are having one dependent and one independent variable. What are the dependent and independent variable that we will see in the coming classes. So first, just you consider that there is one independent variable and one dependent variable. So for that, you have to prepare a simple bar chart. Simple bar chart, only one categorical variable. So you are dealing with only one categorical variable. So we will see what is one categorical variable, and this kind of diagram is called as one-dimensional diagram. Why one-dimensional diagram? Because only the height of the bar are important. Why height of the bar are important? I have already seen that height of the bar will represent the frequency of the different categories. Frequency of the different categories. So just see an example of preparation of simple bar chart. So just see this question. Prepare a bar chart of total lactation milk yield of Kankraj cow recorded at Livestock Research Station Sardar Kushinagar, Gujarat during different years from the data given in the table. So just see this table. Here you can see the two variable year and milk yield. And here you just see the year is a categorical variable, discontinuous variable, qualitative variable. So year 2013, 14, 15, 16, and during this year various milk production statistics. So now we have to prepare a simple bar chart with this data. So this is the simple bar chart from the data given earlier. So in year 2013, the milk production was 1800 liter. Also, and on x-axis you have put year, on y-axis you have put the milk yield. So height of the bar, this is the height of the bar. This height of the bar is representing the frequency of that particular category. So in year 2013 the milk production was 1800, in 2014 it is 2200, in 2015 again it is 1900, in 2016 it is 2500. So this is the way how we are preparing the simple bar chart or simple bar graph. Another type of bar chart is multiple or grouped bar chart. So when this multiple or grouped bar chart is necessary, when you are having two or more independent and one dependent variable. So two or more independent variable, that you have to remember, two or more independent variable, and one dependent variable. So just by example, if you will see example, it will be more clear. The first is multiple or grouped bar chart. So in this, when you are having two or more independent variable and one dependent variable, you can prepare different type of chart. So first we will see multiple or grouped bar chart. So two or more categorical variables. So what here you are having two or more categorical variable. In previous example, we are having only year as a categorical variable, but here we will have more than one categorical variable. So example, the milk yield of two or more breed of cow. Milk yield of two or more breeds of cow. So this breeds of cow is a categorical variable. So you are having two or more categorical variable. Body weights of male and female. So here male and female is the categorical variable. Production of certain commodity during different years. So different years will be the or certain commodity will be the commodity, different type of commodity will be the categorical variable. So here you see one example. Prepare a bar diagram of different body weights recorded on male and female of pattern body sheep at different ages. So here you can say that this male and female are the two categorical variable, and this body weight is the dependent variable. So we'll see in the next slide how the graph look like, multiple or grouped bar chart will look like. So this is the multiple bar chart. Here you can see this male and female are the two categorical variable. So why it is called as multiple bar chart? Because you for a particular set of data you will have multiple bars. Or also it is called as grouped because this bars will be grouped together. You see there is no gap between male and female. So in different categories you are having no, you don't have gap, but after that there is gap. So that is why it is called as multiple or grouped bar chart. Here what we are doing, we are on x-axis you will put male and female as one classification, then different weights, different time period for weights will be another independent variable. So birth weight, weaning weight, 6-month weight, 9-month weight, yearling weight. So this is the second categorical variable, second independent variable, and dependent variable is the body weight. So there are two independent variable. The sex is one independent variable, and time period, birth weight, weaning weight, 6-month, 9-month, and yearling weight, these are the second independent variable. So in this case you are preparing a bar chart or bar diagram that is called as multiple or grouped bar chart. So for at the time of birth, you see the males are weighing about 4.2 kg, whereas females are weighing about 3.6 kg. So this is the example of multiple or grouped bar chart. Now another type of bar chart is component bar chart. Component bar chart is also known as divided bar diagram. Divided bar diagram. Why? Because a particular bar, a single bar is divided into different components. That is why it is called as component bar chart or divided bar diagram. So bars are represented by frequencies of different components. So bars are represented by frequencies of different components. So different components of a particular bar will represent the frequency. It is also referred to as stacked bar chart. Why it is known as a stacked bar chart? Because the components corresponding to a particular category are put on the same bar in stacked style. So it is the different components are put on each other in such a way that it looks like it has been stacked over one another, stacks over other. That is why it is known as stacked bar chart. Just we will see one example and it will be more clearer to you. See, this is the example of component bar diagram. So just consider one example. This is the example of milk yield of Indian cows, crossbred cows and buffaloes during the year 2013 to 15 in Maharashtra state. So this is the year, and these are different categories of cow, year and cow, and these are the dependent variable, that is milk yield. So what we are doing, we are having two independent variable. The first one is year and second one is the different categories of cow. So what here they have done, while preparing graph on x-axis, we have put the year 2013, 14, 15. Whereas second independent variable, that is categories of cow, is being adjusted in a bar itself. But the difference is that the milk production quantity is being represented by the area under graph. So first you see the blue color is for Indian cow. So what is the milk production of Indian cow or indigenous cow? It is 1440. So this graph will reach up to 1440 kg in 2013. 1440 kg. Then crossbred cow is 1560. So from here 1450 it will go up to 1560 and then 1780. So this the area of this component will represent the frequency of that particular category. So this is how the component diagram, component bar charts are being prepared, or subdivided bar charts are being prepared. So hopefully it is clear to all of you. Now the similar to this, just you remember the component diagram, component bar chart, and then you will be able to differentiate between component and percentage bar chart. So next is the percentage bar chart, percent bar chart. So here also the condition is that you will have two or more independent and one dependent variable. So it is very similar to component bar chart, but just remember the component bar chart, then only you will be able to differentiate between the component and percentage bar chart. The only difference is that Instead of components, the percentage of each variable is taken into the account. Percentage of each variable is taken into the account for erecting the bar. So instead of component, what you are doing in component, you are taking the actual frequency of that particular independent variable. But in case of percentage bar diagram, what you are taking the percentage of each independent variable, percentage of each independent variable. Just we will see the height of the bar is always equal to 100. So here you can see in component bar diagram, the height of different bars were different. But similarly, we will see in percentage bar chart, the height will be equal, and that height will be equal to 100. So height will always be equal to 100 in case of percentage bar, and in that 100 different components will be divided. Just we will see with one example. So this is the example of percentage bar chart. So here in this example, you can see the table shows the percentage expenditure of different items in dairy farm during 4 years. So this year is one independent variable, and this feed, fodder, labor and other cost, this cost categories are the second independent variable, and actual this cost is the dependent variable. So how we will represent it? Just you see here, the height of all bars are equal, and that is equal to 100. And this out of 100, how much is for feed? So suppose for feed it is 40. So just 40 at the 40, this blue line is for feed. So it will go up to 40. Then for fodder it is 25. So 40 plus 25 up to 65. Then 17 for labor. So 65 plus 17, 82 to labor. And what about others? So 18. So 82 plus 18 up to 100. This will be for the labor. So this is how the percentage bar chart is being prepared. So hopefully the difference between percentage and component bar chart is clear to you. So this is how this component bar chart and percentage bar chart is being prepared. So this is slightly lengthy chapter, so that is why I have divided this chapter into two parts. So first, today we have already seen the different types of bar chart, bar diagram, line diagram, and the basic of the visual representation of the data. In next class, we will see other different type of visual representation of data. Thank you.